Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and welcome to the GW23 strategy stream. Now, I imagine guys, obviously the game week hasn't actually quite finished yet. Still got a couple of games to play, so kind of an odd situation where we're doing strategy streams for Game Week 23, or we'll be doing videos for Game Week 23 slightly before Game Week 22 is finished, but that's just the nature of the beast in FPL right now, as you guys will well know. But I imagine the mood right now in the chat, or, you know, if you're watching this video after the stream, I imagine the mood is very dependent on whether you have a young Bruno Fernandes in your team or not. I imagine if you do have Bruno, if you've captained Bruno particularly, you're going to be very, very pleased. Or if you're a little bit like me, you don't have Bruno, you know, you've gone for a Ronaldo captain who didn't play the first game, absolute disaster, then you're maybe not so happy. I've obviously dropped in rank so far to 105th with only 41 points so far, but I don't want to say confident, but I think I should, in theory, get back into the top 100 by the end of the game week, in theory. There's also the news that, unfortunately, it looks like the Watford second game is not going to be going ahead. We kind of knew that, right? We kind of knew that we kind of knew that there was a good chance that because Burnley couldn't play the first game, there was a good chance the second game would be cancelled as well, which means that this second Watford game would be cancelled. So, I mean, it's difficult to be too shocked by that. It's difficult to be, you know, if before it was kind of like every time a game gets cancelled, everyone just goes crazy. Oh my God, what is happening? But now it's just kind of like, yeah, that's just what happens now. We kind of expect it at this point. So, yeah, difficult. It is what it is. So yeah, it's unlikely that this second Watford game is going to go ahead. I think they're still yet to make a decision. They may even make the decision. It may even come out in the news during this stream as well. So, yeah, let's see what happens there. But I really would not expect your Watford or Burnley players to get any fixture for the remainder of this game week, which is a shame. It's a shame. I know Dennis and King, we were hoping for big things from them, weren't they, in this insane double game week, but it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. The good news is, however, guys, we have got some good news. The good news is Ronaldo has been spotted in training. He's been training. He's been pictured in training, in good spirits. So it does look like Ronaldo is going to be available for this second game against Brentford, which is fantastic news for us Ronaldo captainers, although I'm sure maybe one or two of you and maybe have your vice captain on a different player and you're actually kind of thinking, I hope Ronaldo doesn't play at all. Possible. But, you know, I've got my vice on Dennis. So if you're kind of like me, you've got your vice captain on maybe a Watford player or a Spurs player, maybe actually you quite like Ronaldo to play it as well. But yeah, it's been one of those weeks, hasn't it? You know, we've had, you know, Ronaldo. We didn't know if he was going to be injured or not, or available or not. We didn't know if the Arsenal versus Spurs game was going to go ahead or not. We suspected it probably wouldn't. We didn't know what was going to happen with the Watford versus Burnley game. We obviously all planned to get some Leicester players in, but then unfortunately that wasn't to be. And actually, the stars of the game week so far, or some of the stars of the game week so far, have been sort of Cancelo, Alexander-Arnold, Bowen, players with single game week. So yeah. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. But yeah, I do kind of want to talk about. I do want to talk about kind of Bruno a little bit, because I know a lot of you guys are going to be feeling a little bit disappointed. You know, you're going to feel a little bit disappointed if you didn't pick Bruno, if you didn't have didn't captain Bruno. I honestly, I don't think you should be feeling, oh, I've made a terrible decision by not going for Bruno. I really don't think you should feel that way. A lot of people didn't go for Bruno. You know, we looked at the number one player in the world, the number one FPL player in the world right now. He didn't go for Bruno. He brought in Ronaldo for a hit. So, you know, I suppose in that sense, if you brought in Ronaldo for a hit rather than going for Bruno, you're in good company, because number one in the world decided to do the same thing. And he's just an absolute FPL machine this season. It really is incredible. So don't feel too bad about it. I do think, you know, obviously, I think Bruno was pretty fortunate to get the amount of points he did. Obviously, that first goal, was really one of those things that just happens in football sometimes. The second goal, you know, that was a perfectly fair goal. But, you know, if you kind of look at Bruno's stats in that game, didn't really do much creatively. He didn't really do too much other than the two goals. So I definitely think I definitely wouldn't panic about this. I definitely wouldn't be saying, oh my God, I didn't get Bruno, I must get him in now. Maybe we'll cover this in buy, sell, keep, avoid. I haven't decided who my avoids are going to be for buy, sell, keep, avoid, but I would say now already, I don't think that performance is enough to say, okay, Bruno is a must-have player. It's a really good score. If you brought Bruno in for that one, fantastic news. You got a bit lucky, but you have to be, like I say all season, you've got to be in it to win it. You took the risk and it paid off. You have to create your own luck in this game, and that's exactly what happened. And that doesn't mean it was a bad pick either. It doesn't mean it was a bad captain pick. Bruno was a good pick. You basically gambled on the fact that Ronaldo wouldn't play, and it absolutely paid off. It was a really, really good risk to take, and it paid off for a lot of people. So absolutely, if you're a Bruno owner right now, take those points and run. Absolutely love that. Just because one of the goals was a bit fortunate doesn't mean you should enjoy those points any less. You absolutely should enjoy that and love it and savor that moment. Non-Bruno owners, don't worry. Honestly, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, one of the reasons why I didn't go for Bruno personally, and we'll see if this ends up being a good decision or not. But, prior to the deadline, one of the reasons I didn't want to go for Bruno is because he's not really a player I kind of want long term. Fair enough. If United are to go to this new formation, even if United do go to this new formation, new old formation, I guess, of the 4-2-3-1. Is Bruno that good of an FPL pick long term? I don't really think so. Obviously, he was going to have a really good game if Ronaldo was not on that pitch, or not obviously necessarily, but there was a good chance he'd perform really well without Ronaldo there and kind of become the focal point of that team. But long term, I don't know. It could be Ronaldo owners that actually over the course of 2, 3, 4 game weeks, you might be kind of glad that you went for Ronaldo. Or on the other hand, Bruno owners, you might be thinking, now I've got a really nice, easy route to Salah. So you don't really know how it's gonna pan out in the long term. I wouldn't be on either side. If you're a Bruno owner, I wouldn't be worried about the pick. I'll be happy with the pick. If I was a Ronaldo owner, I wouldn't be too worried. Obviously, it's disappointing that you didn't get the points in the first game, but I don't think that's a cause to be negative. I don't think that's a cause to be negative. So, yeah, it's just one of those things. There you go. All things FPL says. I can't believe so many managers brought in Ronaldo for a hit when he was flagged. Is this the end of Gangsters Allardyce? Gangsters Allardyce, of course, is the name of the top number one player at the moment. I really don't think that was surprising. I know a lot of people will be saying right now, and this is kind of what I'm trying to say so far in this stream, is a lot of people will be saying, well, obviously Ronaldo was a bad pick. Obviously Bruno was the better pick. But one, we didn't know what was going to happen before the deadline, right? We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know for sure. It looked actually, the comments from Ranić were actually pretty positive about Ronaldo. We weren't to know what was going to happen. It's kind of an unfortunate situation. And I do genuinely think that Ronaldo was a good pick. And if he played that first game, and if he plays that second game as well, overall, I think it could actually be okay. And obviously, if you compare that directly to Bruno, it's one of those things. But huge swings, huge rank swings so far, and I'm kind of, in many ways, I'm very, very excited to see what happens next if Ronaldo does play or not, because maybe Ronaldo owners pull it back a little bit, or maybe Ronaldo doesn't play and Bruno owners go even further in the lead for this game week. And then what's going to happen next game week? It's going to be, again, we kind of find ourselves in a situation, I think, where it's going to be kind of Ronaldo owners versus Bruno owners in many respects, isn't it? But yeah, certainly, whatever you've got right now, stick with what you got. I don't think there's any need to panic on Ronaldo or Bruno, to be honest. Obviously, Ronaldo's got some good fixtures coming up as well. If we have a look here, we've got West Ham at home next, which, we kind of saw that actually, well, I mean, to be fair, as much as we rate West Ham, and this is why I don't like the FPL website's fixture difficulty ratings, because West Ham are a good attack, but they've never really been a good defence. They just haven't, have they really? So it's not really a defence that we love. So in that sense, a home game against West Ham, for whether you're a Ronaldo owner or Bruno, particularly if Ronaldo's back, I think he could be a really good pick. And, Burnley away, we know what's going on with Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, Watford. We've got some really nice fixtures for our Manchester United attacker there. So that's actually, it's really nice. I think over the course of these several game weeks, you're probably going to find that, obviously it's about owning the right player at the right time, but you're probably going to find that going for Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't such a bad pick overall. And that's a lot of the reason why a lot of people went for Ronaldo. So really, guys, please don't feel bad about it. Please, please, please. FPL is a game played over more than just one game week. There would be highs, there would be lows. That's kind of what's kind of fun about it all, right? But anyway, let's look a little bit forward because we can dwell on what's happened this week as much as we like. I'm going to show you what I'm dealing with my team so far for next game week. A wealth of options, you'll possibly say. I'm actually going to put Foster in there to see if you can get your first clean sheet of the season, Watford. Possible, right? Wait, did they get? No, they didn't get a clean sheet this game week either, did they? No, they, yeah, obviously Newcastle scored, didn't they? They scored the first goal. But yeah, this is what I'm dealing with. I've actually arguably got too many options, and I'm kind of waiting to see what the situation is with Arsenal, what the situation is with a few things, and kind of see if any more games are going to get cancelled, if they look likely to get cancelled or not. In terms of captains, currently I'm kind of thinking Sterling. I don't know, maybe put the vice on Ronaldo. I'm tempted to go Ronaldo captain, but I'm not fully sure. At the moment, I'm Sterling. I don't know if you guys watched Sterling against Chelsea, but I genuinely thought he was the best player on the pitch again. Sterling is just looking so good, right? Looking so good. Absolutely loving him at the moment. Well, I mean, he got Player of the Month for December, right? So we know that he's a player in the form of his, maybe not the form of his life, but certainly some really, really good form. So I think a Sterling captain against Southampton is super, super tempting. And I'm kind of looking here, look at the next few fixtures for Sterling. That's going to be phenomenal. Bruno Fernandes, De Bruyne as well. Kevin De Bruyne. He's also going to be a really nice pick for these next few games, isn't he? And then potentially think about switching maybe Sterling to Salah at some point. That's kind of what I'm thinking, unless we downgrade Ronaldo. But then we look at Ronaldo's fixtures and they look good as well. So it's going to be kind of interesting. I think Salah could possibly have a double game week. I can't remember where it is. Is it game week 26? Let's have a look. I'm trying to remind myself. Liverpool could have a double game week somewhere. It could be game week 26, which is really, really interesting. So I have to blank the game week after as well, which is not ideal, but there we go. But yeah, that could be kind of interesting, and maybe that's time to bring Salah back in. I don't know. We're gonna have to get him back in at some point, aren't we? When depending on how well Egypt do. But yeah. This is what I'm dealing with. Obviously, I've got Dawson. He's not going to go near the main team. Alonso on the bench there. Not really too keen on going for him. I just don't really trust Chelsea's defence at the moment. In fact, I'm really tempted to get rid of him because he blanks 2 games after that. So those of you in a similar situation, I mean, look at that. Not just the 2 games, but the 27 as well. So 24, 25 and 27 all going to be blanks. A couple of games to be rescheduled in somewhere as well. And then after that, from game week 28, that's a really nice run of fixtures, isn't it there? But certainly in the short term, all of your Chelsea players can pretty much get in the bin, I think. Even from now, let's just get rid of those Chelsea players, right? Antonio is an interesting one, isn't he? Obviously, we've got Manchester United this week. He's not doing too well. In fantasy terms, he's doing okay. If you kind of look through his recent scores, he's doing okay, but nothing amazing. The problem is that he's not playing as an out-and-out striker, and we're seeing him drop really deep and come really wide a lot of the time, and it's not really what we want. I mean, these fixtures that we've seen recently, Southampton, Watford, Crystal Palace, Norwich and Leeds, this has been a phenomenal run of fixtures, and fair enough, he has got a couple of returns. But he's not got enough points. He really hasn't got enough points. It's been thoroughly disappointing from Antonio. Really, we expect him to. We expect a little bit more for that price, for that team. You do need to think about going elsewhere, I think, and that's exactly what we'll probably think about doing. Antonio to somewhere else, even though the fixtures continue to be good. After Manchester United, we've got Watford, Leicester and Newcastle. All 3, I would say, are very good fixtures for any attacker. You've got to have the right attacker, and the right attacker from West Ham right now is, quite frankly, Bowen, isn't it? I don't think anyone's got any doubts about that. But I think we've got to talk about Aston Villa. I think that's what we've got to talk about now, because first of all, let's just find some Aston Villa players. First of all, they have phenomenal fixtures. So if you look here, Everton away, and I don't care what you say, Everton is a fantastic fixture. Again, the FPL website, their fixture difficulty ratings, I just don't buy into them at all, because that is a green fixture, that Everton away fixture, as is Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton kind of maybe a little bit tricky, and then Southampton, nice fixture again. So our Aston Villa players have got some really, really nice fixtures coming up that is going to be really, really interesting. But not only that, we've got some double game weeks to come. We think there's a good chance of a double game week 23. So, I think it's this Leeds fixture, or this Burnley fixture. What is it more likely to be? Was it Leeds? I can't remember now. Maybe someone in the chat can remind me what's more likely. If you have access to that information, I can't remember now. But yeah, it's looking pretty likely that the 23 could be a double game week. Well, saying that, we are getting a bit close. Maybe, I hope we'll find out in the next kind of couple of days. But certainly save your transfers, because this could be a nice double game week for West Ham. And if so, I mean, we're going to be looking at Watkins. I mean, Antonio to Watkins could be a good shout. Obviously, all eyes on the new man, Coutinho. Oh, he's got his Aston Villa picture now. What a performance! He kind of got that phantom assist, didn't he? And then the goal as well. Wow! I mean, really, really nice. Really, really nice. I think a lot of people will be impressed by what they saw with Coutinho, for his debut, and hopefully there's going to be some more good things. A few people saying in the chat, Leeds. Yeah, I think you're right. Coutinho. If he doubles at Everton and Leeds, Coutinho could be a really nice player to go for. But I don't want you guys to neglect young Jacob Ramsey here as well, who is only 4.6 million, and he has been starting every game. Since game week 12, you can see, since game week 12, he's only been out for one game, and I don't know if there was an injury there or something like that, or I can't remember the exact situation of that game. But what we're looking at here, and perhaps I'll do a little bit of research on this. In fact, I'll definitely do a little bit of research on this when I'm thinking about making my transfers myself. But he's playing every single game, and he's looking pretty good. You can obviously see he's scored a couple of goals. He got a goal and assist against Manchester United and looked really good. Man of the match performance, I think. Well, certainly on British broadcasters gave him the man of the match. Star of the show, really, really good. Again, and I don't know if he's going to... I mean, obviously, you would say... If Coutinho's coming back in, does that mean Ramsey's the player to drop out? Possibly. But he's the form player. You'd say that right now, Buendia would probably be slightly more likely to drop out of the starting 11. And actually, Coutinho would come in instead of, to kind of replace Buendia as a starting guy. Or maybe, we've only got one of Ings or Watkins, and only one of Ings or Watkins plays or starts, and maybe that's another risk. Do you go for an Ings? Probably not, a little bit too risky. Do you go for a Watkins? Is there going to be a situation where we've got slight risk creeping in for Watkins, and which would be mad, by the way, because Watkins is the biggest 90-minute player. He every single game he's available, he will play 90 minutes. Unless he's just coming back from injury or if he's got COVID or something, he plays 90 minutes every game. Is there going to be cause to remove him from the Aston Villa team? Probably not. But, you don't really know. You don't really know how everyone's going to fit in. Coutinho, Ramsey, Buendia, Ings, and Watkins, one of those players is basically going to have to drop out of the starting 11, right? So I don't know. I don't know who's going to drop out of, you'll probably say, Bruno in the chat says, I think Sanson heading straight to the bench. Possibly, but you that doesn't really work with the formation they're playing. They're kind of playing a sort of... arguably a 4-2-3-1. So you do need those two sitting midfielders. Buendia's not a sitting midfielder. Ramsey's not a sitting midfielder. Coutinho's not a sitting midfielder. You kind of need that box-to-box player to sit alongside Douglas Luiz, someone with a slightly more defensive ability. So obviously Sanson did get subs off for Coutinho. I know you guys are saying that, but that was because it was kind of an attack-minded substitution because Villa were chasing the game. So that's why they kind of played an attack-minded substitution. I don't think they're going to start off a game with just the one sitting midfielder in Douglas Luiz and then just go 4-1 I guess 4-1-4-1 really. I don't know if they're going to go for that kind of formation. McGinn as well, he's got to come in as well. Is he gonna play alongside Douglas Luiz? But basically what I'm saying is it's going to be one of Watkins, Ings, Buendia, Ramsey, or Coutinho. One of them's going to have to drop out. Maybe it is Ramsey. Maybe it's Watkins. Maybe it's Ings. I don't know. It depends. But, you know, he's cheap. Someone just said, Moises in the chat just said he's just 4.6 million. So cheap. You know, bench fodder, if he plays, fantastic. But what I'm really saying here is if we are going to attack a double game week 23, what we really want to go for is a player who we know is going to start, right? And is Jacob Ramsey that player? Maybe. It would be a really risky move. Like I always say, you've got to be in it to win it. If you want things to pay off, you want a risk to be rewarded, then you do have to take that risk in the first place. And Jacob Ramsey for 4.6 million could be phenomenal. I mean, like a really obvious transfer, for example, would be Emil Smith-Rowe to Jacob Ramsey. You know, you don't need any money in the bank to do that. The problem with Coutinho is that a lot of people may struggle to get him in. Like, who do you transfer out? You're not going to transfer out Jota. You're not going to transfer. I mean, well, maybe you're saying maybe you would transfer out Jota. I don't know. Unless you've still got like a Bernardo Silva kicking around, who you can get rid of. What is the kind of player you could take out to bring in Coutinho? Now, a lot of people will have that option, but a lot of people won't. It's probably going to be about 50-50, as in who's going to be able to do this move and who isn't. I mean, I wouldn't even be against doing like a Bruno Fernandes to Coutinho. I think Coutinho could outscore Bruno Fernandes over the next 3 or 4 game weeks. I really think that could happen. People in the chat say McGinn is nailed with Luiz. Yeah, okay, yeah, it is going to be that then, isn't it? It's going to be McGinn and Luiz, because McGinn had a suspension, didn't he? Was it the 5? Did he get 5 yellow cards? So he's going to come back in, play alongside Luiz, and then who knows what's going to happen ahead of that? Who knows? It's a bit of a mystery. I don't know. I think it would be difficult to drop Jacob Ramsey at the moment. Athav says Buendia is going to start every game, but is that true? I don't know. Ariel says Smith-Rowe having Burnley if he's healthy. I think wait on that one. Possibly. It depends if everyone else is. It depends if everyone else is available. Is it because Smith-Rowe can't even find himself in the main team? Jay Herbert says is Coutinho nailed? That's a really difficult question because he's not even started a game yet, so it's very difficult to say. But you would make a good estimation that perhaps Coutinho is going to be nailed. A few people in the chat saying Ings will be benched. Ings on form, surely. Yeah. Look, it is a bit of a mystery, but that's not a bad shout. I would say, realistically, who would you want to bench? Possibly Ings. Possibly Buendia. Buendia played quite well, didn't he, against Manchester United? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, probably Ings. But then, is that enough firepower? Or maybe Coutinho is the right firepower. But you know what we're basically saying is there's a degree of risk there, and it's going to be a bit of rotation. I certainly wouldn't be buying in Ings, even if it is a double game week. Gio in the chat says can't wait for Coutinho knee-jerkers to get mudded. Oh, come on, that's a bit harsh. I mean, anyone who is making early transfers. You know, I've like earlier on in the season, I actually had a lot of sympathy for people who are making early transfers. But at this point, it's honestly, I'm just like, you are doing this to yourself. Like the amount of times, you know, not just me on this channel, you know, everyone else on all other YouTube channels, people on Twitter saying, stop making early transfers. Stop it. Please stop it. Naughty. No more. And people still do it. And make transfers on like a Monday. People would have been made transfers already. In fact, I bet people have made so many transfers for like Coutinho already. Let's go all players. I bet Coutinho and Bruno have ridiculous transfers in. Let's have a look. Oh, not so much Bruno maybe, but look at this. 250,000 people have already transferred in Coutinho. Like, and I know some of you listening, watching this video right now will have already done it. Some of you will have done it. I don't understand why. I will never understand why. What makes things worse with Coutinho, and maybe a lot of people didn't know this, is that Coutinho can't actually change in price. His price is locked. Coutinho is not going to change because he's a new player in the Premier League. They lock his price. They kind of lock players' prices for a period. So until I think it's either Thursday or Friday, Coutinho can't change in price. He's going to be 7 million. It's not like we're chasing price changes. Coutinho can't change price. He is locked at 7 million until at least Thursday or Friday. So, like, there's not going to be any price changes for Coutinho anyway. So, if you didn't know that, then that is going to be a big factor. But this is what I'm saying. And maybe a lot of people don't have access to this kind of information. But come on. Stop transferring in players this early. There is no need whatsoever. Subam in the chat says, I think Coutinho will be like James Rodriguez, will shine for 4 or 5 games and his form will drop. Well, I mean, good. That's a really nice FPL player to bring in. If you think that's going to happen, that's a really good opportunity for you to go for that player, bring him in for this form, and then dump him when you think the form is running out, and just get him for that really good period, rather than waiting a few game weeks and then, and then by the time you've got him, he's only got a couple games left in form, or maybe he's about to dip in form, and then suddenly you don't want that player anymore. So there we go. There's opportunities to do that. If you feel like a player is going to do really well. Go for him nice and early. A couple of other players, a lot of transfers in. Bowen, I mean, obviously Bowen is an absolute hero and a legend, and you absolutely must have Bowen. But imagine if this game gets called off. Imagine if the Aston Villa game gets called off. Imagine if the City versus Southampton game gets called off. Anything can happen. Anything can happen in the next few days. It's absolutely wacky that people are making these kind of early transfers. But certainly on Coutinho, just because his price can't change, I cannot recommend enough that you guys just don't do it. Just leave it for now. Oh well. Is there? I don't know if has anyone got any more news on that? If we've got a news on the Burnley game yet? No, it doesn't look like it. Who's the sustainable Aston Villa pick? Says Aryan in the chat. Well, Watkins would probably be the safest choice you could possibly have, but I do think Coutinho is going to be nailed on. Obviously, there's no way of me knowing that. There's no way of any of us knowing that. But yeah, he's definitely an option. A few people in the chat are also mentioning Luca Digne. Digne. Pretty good start, I would say. Obviously, not in terms of FPL points. If you guys watched the game, you would have probably been reasonably impressed. Has he gone up in price? I thought it was 4.9 million. Oh no, maybe I'm wrong. He was 5. Reasonably good game. 0 points because he conceded 2 goals and he got a yellow card. Flying crazy tackle that he did, by the way. But he looks really good, I thought. Actually, really putting in a lot of balls, playing very high up the pitch. I genuinely think he could be a pretty good pick. And yeah, a few people saying Digne nailed. Yeah, I would say that Digne is nailed as well. Yeah, I mean, he's mostly going to be nailed, isn't he? There's going to be a few reasons. You don't buy Digne for all that money and then not play him. So yeah, I think Digne is possibly going to be a good pick. The problem is, how many clean sheets are you going to get? We look at the hang on, let's look at Aston Villa recent clean sheets. How many have they got? Not many. They've got the clean sheet against Norwich and clean sheet against Brighton, but they haven't. They've been like that team that concedes 1 goal per game a lot of the time, haven't they? So that's kind of been a little bit difficult. They have looked better defensively, I think, since Gerrard took over. They just look a better team since Gerrard took over. But how convinced are we for clean sheets from Aston Villa? I wouldn't say I'm super convinced. So you would be kind of betting on occasional. I mean, to be fair, the fixtures are good, but you'd be betting on occasional clean sheets and hoping for some attacking returns there. Like Everton, I would say there's a good chance of a clean sheet there. Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, although they're good fixtures for if you're an attacker, Leeds, Newcastle, and Watford all have that ability to score goals or to nick goals, kind of thing, don't they? Newcastle, although that you wouldn't say they're fantastic in attack, they do tend to nick 1 goal in a game. Watford, tragic defence, but they do score goals. So, there is reason, particularly if we've got a double game week, there is definitely reason to go for a Villa defender, and Digne would probably be your first choice, right? I mean, yeah, like cheaper than Matty Cash, is he? Yeah, he's cheaper than Matty Cash. He's probably going to be playing more advanced than Matty Cash. I mean, it looked like actually in the Manchester United game, and we're still very early days. We don't fully have a full picture of how Digne fits in at Aston Villa, but certainly in that Manchester United game, Digne was the more attacking, more advanced of the two fullbacks, right? So yeah, if he puts on in a performance like that against some of these other teams, we could potentially be looking at some attacking returns here for sure. Maybe some set pieces as well, which is always nice. Although, Digne, Coutinho, Douglas Luiz, who else takes set pieces for Aston Villa now? See, we've got like Ings on the penalties if he wants them. Buendia potentially on some set pieces as well. Ashley Young, if he plays, will want some set pieces. There's a lot of good set piece takers in the Aston Villa team, right? Especially now that Digne and Coutinho is in the team. But yeah, Digne scoring against Everton, that could be interesting. A few people saying Digne against his old club. I mean, he was really in a bad spot at Everton, so that's going to be some motivation. That's going to be some serious motivation to get something from that game. But he could be as motivated as he likes, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to score or perform. But yeah, definitely one. So I mean, overall, looking at my team, I don't think I can reasonably get to Coutinho. If I was to sacrifice someone to get Coutinho, it would have to be Bowen, Jota, or Lucas. I don't really want to lose any of those players. I like all of those players. I really like all of those players, actually. So I don't think it's possible for me to get Coutinho. So I would probably be looking at doing one of Dawson or Alonso. Probably Alonso, to be honest, because I just will not want Chelsea players for so long. How many game weeks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game weeks, and he only plays 2 fixtures, and they're against Spurs and Crystal Palace, which aren't amazing fixtures anyway. I'm not really too interested. So Alonso at 5.7 million, pretty expensive as well. We could downgrade him to our lovely Luca Digne maybe at 5 million. Bank a little bit of cash for future game weeks. I mean, we're going to need a bit of cash in the bank when we eventually do that Salah transfer, getting Salah back in. We're going to need a bit of money in the bank, so we do need to think about that a little bit as well. So an Alonso down to Digne could be quite nice. And then the other option is Smith Rowe to Ramsey, but that to me is going to depend a lot on, one, are Burnley actually going to be up for playing this game? Because are Burnley ever going to play a fixture again? It's getting kind of silly now, isn't it? They're going to have looking forward to their kind of quintuple game week in game week 38. That's the way it's going with Burnley right now. But, is this game going to be on? If this game is going to be on, what's going to be the fitness situation with Smith Rowe? What's going to be the fitness situation with some of the other Arsenal players as well? Odegaard, obviously, he had COVID recently. Is he going to be available? We need to find that out. If it's looking good, like Smith Rowe is going to be playing and available and against a Burnley team that are going to be playing, but playing a weakened team, then Smith Rowe is going to look like a very good pick to stay in your team. But on another hand, it's possible that once again this game the Burnley game is in the mud, as it seems to be every game week, and it might be another situation where Smith Rowe is not going to be starting, and Smith Rowe owners again in the mud there. And if so, Smith Rowe to Ramsey looks like a good pick. But in terms of defenders, I think a really obvious move would be to either for me to go to Alonso or Dawson. Alonso I prefer, but I don't know what kind of situations you're in, but I imagine you guys have kind of maybe a Chelsea defender in your team right now, even if it's a Rudiger, Alonso, James, if you still got him kicking about your club, to make that move from that player to Digne is, I think, a pretty nice move, to be fair. A pretty nice move indeed. So yeah. Abhinav in the chat says Chris Wood left Burnley just to play some football. I mean, there you go. That's pretty much it, right? That's pretty much it. Chris would all he wanted to do was play some football, and Burnley don't want to play any football anymore. Burnley have kind of decided if we never play a game of football again, we can't get relegated. So if we just extend this season for as long as possible, that's extra time we get to spend in the Premier League. Oh dear. John in the chat says, Coutinho a wait and see for me. Odds of Watkins returning decent. I don't know. I don't really like waiting and seeing. That's kind of not my game personally. I think if you see something you like, you get in there as early as possible, because the longer you leave it, the more points you lose out on if they do well. If you wait for them to, get 3 10 pointers in a row before you say, okay, maybe they are a good player, then 1, you've just missed out on 30 points, and 2, it probably indicates that they're coming out of, they're going to be, more closer to ending their form. The player will be at a very high ownership by that point, so even the points that you do get after those 3 game weeks are going to be, not as valuable. So I am a big fan of getting in on a player early, nice and early. So if you see something you like, get that player. I saw something I like with Coutinho, so if it was very easy for me to get him, I would get him now. I'm not going to lie to you guys and say, a lot of people say I can't get to Coutinho, therefore he must be a bad pick. That's not true at all. I can't get to Coutinho, and I think he's a really good pick. I wish I could get to him very easily, but unfortunately I can't. If I could, I probably would. So yeah, that's all I say on that one. Silent Fusion says, why do you keep stuttering on Dino? It's just a fun way of saying it. Who is it who says it? It's Nepenthes, the FIFA YouTuber, says it that way, and it's an incredibly fun way of saying Dino. Dino. There we go. Ericsson coming to Brighton. Yeah, I've seen a couple of rumours about that. It's going to take a lot more to. Isn't there? Oh, okay. Apparently, we need to hide a user from the channel. There we go. Sorry, I didn't see that. My chat filters out bad messages anyway. So, but there we go. The troll is gone. So I don't really see many of the bad messages, just because otherwise it would just be a little bit too crazy. But yeah. I mean, if you maybe want to take a -4, Corey in the chat says great, and DCL to Coutinho and Watkins. Or Watkins or same plus Lamptey to Dino. I don't know if I want to be taking -8. This is the point. We can't just take -4s and -8s every week. That is just too much. It's just too much, isn't it? But there we go. That's the temptation, isn't it? Every week we seem to get a double game week, and we're like, let's take a -4, let's take a -8. But then, half the double game weeks will be cancelled anyway, and we've taken these minuses, and it's for nothing. So I think unless you really, really need to make a move, then the minus is not really necessary. I mean, maybe that's a good reason why why you should have gone for Bruno rather than Ronaldo last game week. Well, this game week, Game of 22. Just because it would have, Son straight to Bruno is a much simpler move, and it doesn't take a -4, and maybe that's kind of, that in itself is a reason to go for Bruno. But I don't know, I was far more confident about captaining Ronaldo than I was Bruno, which sounds ridiculous in hindsight, doesn't it? And also, I just didn't really want Bruno for the long term, but maybe I shouldn't have been thinking about that. Maybe I should have been thinking, bet on Ronaldo not starting, buy Bruno, and then have a nice swap to Salah in a few game weeks time. But then again, maybe Ronaldo outscores him by 100 points over the next 3 game weeks. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. There's no point dwelling on it really. Going forward, I'm certainly happy with my decision, but in a snapshot of a game week, you can get yourself in a bit of a tiz. But you kind of have to look at the bigger picture, I suppose. Moises in the chat says taking hits is more fun. Oh, absolutely. Taking hits is fun. Don't get me wrong. You get to have a revolutionary team every game week, right? I just have having a nice big bench so I can switch around and have different players on each game week. Saves you having to take hits all the time. Anurag says, we have the same team with attackers. I have Watkins DCL instead of Dennis and Antonio. Should I be looking at removing DCL? Everton look really bad. Or the funny new manager bounce will be applicable. I don't actually know. Who do Everton have other than Aston Villa, obviously? Who do they have in the upcoming fixtures? They've got Newcastle, got Leeds, got Southampton. So they have got some good fixtures coming up, to be fair, haven't they? Everton. I mean, Damari Gray, like I say this every live, I'm pretty sure every live stream I say this, but I just am not a fan of Damari Gray as an FPL asset. I don't think he's everything. You know, people really hype him up because they're like, oh, we can get an Everton attacker for this cheap. But that's all well and good. But yeah, your Everton attacker has to actually do something in order for it to be worth it. So yeah, Gray, I would definitely sell. I would never buy him in the first place, but no, I would definitely sell him. I'm not a fan of him personally as an FPL asset. Maybe some of you guys have different opinions, and obviously earlier on in the season he did look pretty good, but since then it's not looked too hot. It's not looked too hot. The Frostbite Dev says it's very addicting. What taking minuses? Get addicted to taking minuses. Man, they're a worse addiction to have. I mean, at least that doesn't impact your life too much. It might impact your FPL scores a little bit, but not your life. So you're kind of okay on that. Ogwana says, any thoughts on getting Rafinha? Too late. I wouldn't. I don't think Rafinha is the kind of player we'd probably be looking at the moment. I think we would be more focusing on kind of Aston Villa at the moment. I think that's kind of where our eyes should be drawn in terms of transfers. So, who to buy instead of Gray? If you could do Gray to Coutinho, fantastic. If you can't, maybe Gray to Jacob Ramsey. I was speaking earlier about Smith Rowe to Jacob Ramsey. That could be pretty good. But Gray to Jacob Ramsey could be really nice as well. Do Moura to Coutinho? No, because I actually really like Lucas Moura. I think he's going to be a good pick. That's why I bought him, not just for one game week. I'm going to keep him for a couple of game weeks, and then I think I'll keep him probably until. I might take him out at Wolves at home, but it depends on when all of these many fixtures are rescheduled to. So, because if we have some double game weeks in the near future for Spurs, then I'm gonna want to keep Lucas in my team, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that some of these Spurs games will happen reasonably soon. Obviously, Spurs have no League Cup; they got no Europa Conference League anymore. So in theory, there's going to be some available slots for them to play maybe in February. Sort of where we're looking, maybe Gameweek 25 possibility. Gameweek 25, 26 could have a double game week there. So I think if we get some news on some double game weeks, then I'll keep Lucas for a little bit longer. But if not, I'll probably keep him through 24 and then remove him at 25 possibly. If not 26, maybe, or just bench him. I could just bench him as well. Also depends on the structure from the rest of my team, but I do like Lucas. His underlying stats look phenomenal. He's playing so well, and you guys have watched Lucas since Conte's come in. He's looked really good, and while Son is out, he's going to be playing as a striker as well, which is really good. Again, lots of really good things. I'm really hoping that Lucas is going to repay my faith immediately. And do really well against Leicester. I don't see why. There's no reason why he can't get a really good score against Leicester. Could be pretty nice, really. Leicester obviously terrible in defence, still lacking a couple of players in their defensive line. Noah Ndidi, Noah Marty, players at AFCON. So although I do rate the Leicester attack, defensively not so much. Hopefully Lucas just blows it out of the water. Liam says, any tips on how to get into the top 100k? Been stuck around 150k for a while. The problem is when you get to around the 100k mark, most people are making similar, pretty obvious template transfers. So they'll be bringing in a lot of the most popular players. The key is to if you want to break into the next kind of bracket, always the way to do that, or in my opinion anyway, is to pick players before people know they're good FPL assets. So pick players very early in their form cycle. I think I spoke about this. I did speak about this in great depth in a video a couple of weeks ago. where basically the big tip, it wasn't a couple of weeks ago, it was only like a week ago, but the big tip kind of was pick players before everyone else realises that they want them. So, for example, someone in the chat was saying earlier, I kind of want to see Coutinho for a couple of game weeks to see if he's good enough. But by that point, maybe Coutinho has just scored 3 goals in 3 games, right? And at that point, people around the top 100k will be saying, okay, now I'm ready to get Coutinho. But if you go for Coutinho a little bit early and try and guess, estimate, predict who is going to be the future of points, that's kind of how you break those little barriers, I guess. Mav Rick says Son to Coutinho and Pukki to Watkins. I mean, if Aston Villa get a double game week, then for sure, that could be really, really nice. It could be a really nice, pair of moves. Yeah, I quite like it. But, I mean, you could just do one of them as well if you wanted to. But to be fair, Son's not playing. He's injured. And Pukki probably don't want it anyway. So, I mean, both moves improve your team. So it could be doable. Matthew Theron saying Semedo or Digne. Still Digne. I still do reckon we do need to focus on Aston Villa this game week. I think it's going to be the big Aston Villa game week, really. John Rick says the key is to be spicy. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. Get those spicy differentiales into that team. Absolutely. Love a bit of spice in my life. So yeah, get on those players early. The Frostbite Dev says many are selling Bernardo Silva ahead of a nice short-term fixture run. It doesn't matter. With Bernardo Silva, it doesn't matter. And this is kind of what I was kind of alluding to with Damari Gray as well. You can have as good fixtures as you like, but if you pick the wrong player for those good fixtures, then you may as well pick any other player. Like, it really doesn't matter. Just because fixtures are good doesn't mean every player from that team is a good pick. I could pick I don't know. Who's got good fixtures coming up? Okay, Manchester United have got pretty good fixtures coming up. I could pick a player who I think is nailed on. Let's bring in Fred. He looks pretty nailed on at the moment. Surely he's going to get something from those games. Yeah, maybe he might get like an odd assist over the course of 5 game weeks, 5 really nice fixtures. But I would just, you could just as easily have a player who doesn't have such a good run of fixtures, but because they're a more prominent player in their team, playing a more, playing as more of a aggressive player, like an attacking player, more good positions, taking more shots, being more creative, making more key passes, making more forward passes. Those kind of players, even if the fixtures aren't so good, even if they're playing in a worse team, they're still going to be a better player than a better FPL player, should I say, than perhaps someone else. Dimitar says Fred had some goals in the near past, so yeah, he did. But we're not going to get into the conversation of whether Fred is a good FPL. I was going to let me know if I'm back or not. Hopefully, I'm back. But yeah, we're not talking about Fred. Lucas Moura a trap? I don't think so. No, I don't think Lucas Moura is a trap. His underlying stats look really, really good. He's playing really well under Conte. He's playing an advanced position. He's probably going to be playing as a striker while Son is out. He's looking good. We are back. Okay, good. No, sorry, my internet just drops for a second. I don't know what happened. It cut out for a few minutes or milliseconds. Hopefully not for too long. I don't know if you missed anything I said. Oh well. It doesn't matter. Okay, yeah, Ben in the chat has given a really good example. Sissoko, really good example. Even if, Sissoko had that really nice double game week in 22 and the nice fixture against Norwich, not the right player. Really good fixtures, the wrong player. And a lot of people would have gone for Sissoko because they would have thought, well, it's a nice fixtures. He's there or thereabouts as a reasonably good player. Maybe he's going to, he's got an assist so far. He's got a couple of assists this season. Maybe he's a good player to go for, but he's not. You've got to pick the right players, not just for the fixtures. 5 seconds apparently I was out for. Well, I can only apologise. 5 seconds or 6. That is really specific. But anyway, guys, we are going to wrap up fairly soon. Fairly soon. So I think let's do our usual thing of kind of having a look at the price changes. I do like to check out. it's a nice thing. I mean, actually, to be fair, I used to love checking price changes on these streams to see kind of what the price trends are, who looks like they're going to be going up in price, who looks like they're going to go down in price. But honestly, I probably a bit dangerous because I don't want to encourage early transfers. But let's have a look anyway, very briefly, and then maybe we'll answer a couple more questions and then we will head off. So in terms of players going up in price, Dennis Rudiger is almost at a price increase, which is absolutely wacky. So if you're a Rudiger owner, this could be good for you because he could actually go up in price and then you actually might want to sell him. So you could actually make yourself a little profit there. You know, if Rudiger goes up to 6.3, you could then sell him for Digne, for example. Digne, should I say. And then suddenly you've made a nice little profit. Everyone's going to be selling Rudiger next game week anyway because he doesn't play for 2 game weeks in a row. So that could be really nice for you guys. More pay's going up. We won't talk about that one. Dennis is going up. Maybe missed the boat on that one. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, to be fair, not actually too much interesting is going on with price changes. There's probably only Dennis is really at any risk of going up in price tonight. Yeah, okay. Son, James, they're going to be dropping in price tonight as well. That's no real surprise. But don't let that be motivation for you to make early transfers. That's all I'm going to say, guys. It is so much better. You're so much better off. You are so much better off just taking, losing a little bit of team value than you are finding out at the end of the week that your player isn't playing anymore because the game has been cancelled due to COVID, or finding out that another player has got a double game week and you actually wish you'd gone for that other player who's got a double game week instead. So, don't rush it, guys. Don't rush it. And for that reason, maybe we should stop the price change predictions segment of the video until next season. Or at least later on in the season when not so many games are going to be postponed. Someone says talk on Lamptey. Not much to say. Doesn't seem as nailed on as we perhaps hoped, did he? Cucurella was probably the better pick though going into last game week though. We talked about that, didn't we? Thoughts on Ronaldo. I spoke a lot about Ronaldo at the beginning of the stream, so feel free to watch this back if you feel like it. You feel like a bit more Ronaldo talk. But basically, Ronaldo going forward, I would be if you're a Ronaldo owner going forward, I think you should be very happy. There's a good chance he's trained, so there's a good chance of him starting against Brentford, or at least coming good off the bench. And then after that, fantastic fixtures. And going forward, I do expect Ronaldo to outscore Bruno. Who knows what will actually happen? But no, I definitely would not be feeling negative. It's very easy to get caught up in a 1 game week mentality. Don't. FPL's played over 38 game weeks, and Ronaldo, I think, will come good again. So there we go. Good, excellent point by Magicy Aaron in the chat. Says your hair looks really good today. Thank you. I mean, it doesn't. I really need a haircut. I really, really badly need a haircut. So hopefully we'll sort that out when I can be bothered to leave the house. Because apparently I've turned into a bit of a hermit in these COVID times. Do you think Cash might be a better differential than Digne? No, not really, because Cash is already far more heavily owned than Digne, right? I think, anyway. It certainly was that way. So 4.5% for Cash, and Digne is, oh wow, okay, maybe not. Right, okay, a lot of people going for Digne there. So, but the point is moot. They're both differentials. The point is, it doesn't matter if you pick a differential or not if your player is getting less points. And it does look like Digne, from what we've seen so far, playing more advanced, Digne's just got a better chance of getting FPL points than Cash. So do you really want to be differential for differential's sake when you're losing out on more points for going for Digne? Obviously, it's all predictions. Maybe Cash does outscore Digne, but certainly on the face of it, you would say in theory, I don't know, a good guess would say that the Digne would outscore Cash by a little bit, right? People talking about Ait-Nouri. He's a good cheap pick. He is a good cheap pick, but I don't know. How much faith do we have in Wolves? I mean, aside from their defence, what do they really offer? You're probably not going to get too many attacking returns. I mean, look at these fixtures as well. After Brentford, Arsenal, Spurs, Leicester, West Ham. All 4 teams we know can score goals. So there we go. I think that's answered that question. If you're on a wild card or something and want a nice cheap bench option, then Ait-Nouri, absolutely love it. But, you know, I feel like we need to be a little bit more aggressive with our picks at the moment and go in for players we think are going to score some points. So, yeah, no, not a player I'd be picking. Certainly not a player I could be picking. So I know a lot of people have been asking about Ait-Nouri. Not sure why, but there we go. Ben Tennant says, is Digne a potential rotation risk? Probably not. We kind of spoke about that earlier. Probably not. You don't spend that money on a player and then not play them, really. And, you know, Digne is a really good football player as well. And you kind of forget that because Everton are so bad. And obviously he's fallen out of favour for Everton for so long and hasn't been at his peak for a little while. But Everton, Digne, should I say, is a really good football player. Genuinely really good football player. So there we are. But yes, guys, we're gonna wrap things up. It's going to be the end of this stream. In terms of my team, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do right now. But right now, I'm kind of looking at maybe going Alonso to Digne. Then at least I can just say Digne so many times that it gets in everyone's head and then everyone's saying Digne. Or Smith Rowe to Ramsey. Ramsey doesn't really have the same kind of the same kind of appeal, does it? So maybe not Ramsey. Maybe we'll think of another name for Ramsey if we bring him in. But it's going to kind of depend on the Arsenal situation, the Burnley situation, the Smith Rowe situation, the Arsenal midfielders who's available, this, that, and the other. You know, because even if Smith Rowe is likely to play, is he likely to play in a slightly deeper role potentially? Probably not, to be fair. Odegaard, you'd say, is potentially more likely to play slightly deeper, possibly. Okay, I'm asking questions I don't have the answers to right now. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now in terms of my team. Don't really know. We'll obviously have a think about it. But yeah, captains wise, don't know either. Let's stick vice captain on Ronaldo for now. I think that looks a bit more sensible. Goalkeeper wise, don't know. You know, Foster versus Lloris. Don't know. Might go Foster. Just because I don't rate the Norwich attack that much. Yeah, don't know. We'll see. We've got plenty of time to decide, guys, and I don't want to reveal too much just yet. But there we go. Digne. That's it. Right, guys, thank you so much for watching this stream. Whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching this in retrospect, please don't remember to like the video. Please remember to like the video. I really, really appreciate that. Really helps out the channel. And of course, subscribe if you are new around here as well. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you tomorrow for a buy, sell, keep, avoid video. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.